My name is Andy, and this is the most magical podcast on earth. When I'm not on holiday at Walt Disney World, I'm planning a holiday to Disney. And when I'm not planning a holiday to Disney, I'm talking about Disney, with other UK fans like me who make the trip to Orlando and the House of the Mouse. So whether you're a parks professional or a Florida first-timer, this is the podcast for you. Each episode, I'll be chatting to other Disney superfans to share memories of their magical times, answering your Walt Disney World questions, getting you all the latest news from the parks, and finding out what's happening right now in Orlando. So get your ears on as we take you to the most magical place on earth. This is the most magical podcast on earth with brand new episodes every other week. I hope you're subscribed. If you subscribe, they'll just randomly appear in however you listen to this podcast. Do get in touch as well on the socials. We are at Pod Magical. If you'd like to be a guest, a couple of episodes left before the end of the year. So if you fancy coming on to chat all things Disney World, give me a shout. We'll arrange a time. We're going to be speaking to Bethany in a moment, who has been on the podcast before. Few years ago, her life has changed quite a bit, and her trips to Disney have changed quite a bit since we last spoke to her. So I'll catch up with Bethany in a moment, and we have some of your questions. Once again, on the socials at Pod Magical, if you've got any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Hello to Ant, who says, what is the best time to line up to get the virtual queues, and what's the best way to get the earliest return time? So virtual queues, you still need them for Tiana's and you still need them for Guardians. They go on at 7 a.m. in the morning. Obviously, you have to be there that 7 a.m. time. It's day of. Really, just get in there just before 7 and just hit that refresh button. And it is potluck. There's no method or technique. Make sure you've got somebody else on another phone that's got the actual time in it to the second so you can count down. A lot of people say not being on the Wi-Fi helps as well if you've got service over there. So there really isn't a technique to get an early callback time. It's just the luck of the draw. But getting in there is probably the best luck you could get. So I hope that's been of some help. If you have any questions or you'd like to be a guest, like Bethany, who's back on with us, Pod Magical is where we are. And it is a welcome return to the podcast for Bethany. Welcome back. It's been too long.
Hello. Yes, it's been a long time.
You were one of the very first guests when we started this podcast. Did we say about 2018, 2019?
Yeah, it would have been. And back when I'd just been on our honeymoon to Disney World. So,
mm-hmm. And you were supposed to be going back, and then we had the COVID, the lockdown.
Yeah,
Nobody could go anywhere.
I'm sure a lot of people were affected by. We did have a trip. We had a trip booked. And we were all ready to go, and then obviously that got cancelled. Went to book again actually, and then a close friend of mine had to move her wedding day, and I was a bridesmaid, so I had to cancel the trip again. So yeah, this was a long time coming. Do
you know what I would have said to your friend? I know I was going to be a bridesmaid, but I'm going to Disney. Sorry.
Yeah. And in the end, actually, the wedding ended up something different had to happen because of COVID. So in the end, I didn't actually get to be bridesmaid in, it didn't happen anyway.
Oh, no. Was it not even a Disney themed wedding?
No, unfortunately not.
Oh, wow. But you have been back to Disney since we spoke last time. You've been back to Disney World.
Yes.
So how was it? Did it feel like everything had changed? Because obviously so many new things. Like Tron and Guardians and Tiana. So much new.
So a lot had changed, and we're really excited for the new things that were there. Also, it had changed slightly because my husband has chronic fatigue that he has as a result of having had COVID. So our trip this time was very different and very adapted compared to the trip in 2018, which was actually our honeymoon. And our trip in 2018 was very much do as much as we can. Yeah. We were there for rope drop, and then we were out there for the fireworks day. And we kind of did everything, and then by about day 3 we were like, right, we need to just sit down by the pool. But this time was very different. So my husband could do sort of the morning. He's better off in the mornings anyway, so we usually did rope drop in the morning if we could, and then by sort of just after lunchtime, he would then head back to the resort, and then I'd go back to the resort with him, and then later on in the afternoon, evening, I then actually did solo trips out to the park. So I was really proud of myself.
So you kind of like had 2 holidays in one, a holiday with your husband in the morning and then a solo trip in the evening.
Yeah. And I was able to do things that he had no interest in doing. He did them once on the honeymoon. Things like It's a Small World. He said that there is absolutely no way he would be going back on that ever again. So I thought, and I mean, I don't love it. I don't love It's a Small World, but I feel like if I'm there, I should probably try it at least once.
Go on it. You've got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that. So I did that one afternoon, and then maybe that wasn't the right decision because I got stuck on it. So yeah, I did that, and then also things like Carousel of Progress. I really like Carousel of Progress, so I did that on my own, and yeah, it just kind of went at a different pace. Because if I'm at Disney, I can do everything, and I almost don't feel tired. I'm not affected that much by the heat and things. So it was quite nice actually, and did a few afternoons in Disney Springs shopping as well, because that's his idea of a nightmare, shopping at Disney where I want to buy everything. So yeah. It was good. It was good. Almost like 2 different trips. You're right.
So was that all pre-planned before you went, or did you find when you got there he went like, I can't do this. This is just too much. Or did you go, right, mornings we'll do this, and then how was it planned?
We were going to. We always knew that we needed a plan B. Just in case he couldn't do something, and we stayed at Port Orleans Riverside, and we'd never stayed there before. We stayed at Coronado Springs before on our honeymoon, and when we got there, kind of as soon as we arrived, we thought, right, this is a really relaxed, really chilled place. So if he needs to stay at the resort, then that's great. He can stay and have a bit of a chill out. But we thought, we'll sort of see how he goes, and then just always have that plan B in the back of our minds, really. And actually, the first day, I thought the first day was probably going to be the worst day because we'd had travel day, and we'd tried to cut our travel day in half almost. So we stayed overnight at the airport hotel, and then we arrived about 7 p.m. I think, and we just had something to eat and went straight to bed. Whereas before we went, we tried to go somewhere that evening,
and then
but
stay
this
out.
time we just this time we just kind of, unpacked a little bit and then went to bed. But the first day was actually great. He had loads of energy, and he was able to do something kind of in the morning and in the afternoon. But then the kind of fatigue then hit him the following day, and it kind of hit with a bit of a vengeance. But we had that plan B in mind, and actually, I mean, thinking back and reflecting on the trip, we both feel that it was really good, and he managed to do a lot, and he managed to do a lot more than I thought he would. It did also mean that he didn't always feel like doing some of the more kind of extreme rides, because they kind of made him feel a bit worse for wear afterwards. So things like we did Expedition Everest, and then he was like, no, that hasn't been, the backwards bit hasn't been very good for my how I'm feeling. So we changed things up a bit there, but it was still a great trip, and I think we'd had a long time to think and plan about it, and we were happy with what we did.
So while you were shopping or watching the fireworks or doing small work, what was he doing? Was he sitting by the pool? Was he staying in the room?
Yeah, he depended on how hot it was, really. So he stayed by the pool and chilled out. Some days he wanted to go back to the room just for the aircon, really.
Yeah.
He felt able to do that. And when I booked, I made a booking request if we could be sort of close to the main facilities in the hotel. And we were so lucky because we were at the first building that was kind of from the main facilities, so he didn't have very far to go. But also we had a mobility scooter while we were there as well. So without that, he wouldn't have been able to do hardly anything.
I was going to ask about that, whether you thought of hiring a chair or an e-seating.
Yeah. And I would definitely recommend that people hire one from a company kind of outside of Disney, because the prices to hire them in the parks are very expensive.
Yeah.
And also then I don't think you can take them out of the parks either.
No.
So you'd have to give it back to then get back to your resort, and obviously that's quite a journey in itself to get back to your resort and then walk back to your room. So we had one delivered from a company outside on the first day of the holiday. It came on the first morning, and that was just a lifesaver really for him to have that. And actually all of the cast members were so helpful with making sure that we knew where to go to get on different rides and things, and getting on the buses. They were just great. So I was really happy with that and all of the support given.
Was there any kind of way you could use DAS Pass, or since the rules have changed, was that not an option?
The rules have changed, and we were speaking actually with a lady who lived locally there, and just kind of talking about the different changes that have been made. And I can see kind of some of the reasons why Disney have made the decision they have, because I think some people were potentially using it kind of incorrectly, and they were using it so that they could skip queues. But then unfortunately, because it had to change, then there's loads of people that have then missed out that would have been able to get to have it before. I think it's in our case, for my husband, it was that he couldn't sort of stand up for long periods of time. You're standing up and waiting, whereas because he had the mobility scooter, he didn't have to stand. He was sitting down still. So perhaps we wouldn't have been able to use the DAS Pass anyway, because I think it's for people that are potentially sort of not able to queue for other reasons. And I think Disney's answer to that would be that we could still queue, but we would be queuing in the wheelchair. And certain queues like Tron, for example, you couldn't have the mobility scooter in the queue, but you could transfer to a wheelchair that then you could just push somebody in. So that's what we did. And with some of the older attractions, so Jungle Cruise and Magic Kingdom as well, when we sort of got there and said, could we get into the standby line? They said because the attraction queue was made in 1971, it's not accessible. So they just gave us a return time for that, which effectively is what the DAS Pass is. They just said, come back in 20 minutes, and then they scanned our magic bands, and then we just did it that way, and then they let you in effectively the exit. So that happened with Jungle Cruise, and it also happened with Space Mountain as well. They gave us a return time for Space Mountain. So it's very dependent on the attraction and whether the queue is, whether you're able to have the mobility scooter or whether you need to transfer to a wheelchair that you push, or whether they give you a return time. So it kind of depended on where we were.
So they are still making accommodations basically for everybody who's got any kind of needs. Don't feel put off that you can't use DAS Pass anymore. There are ways around it.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I didn't feel like, we couldn't get the DAS Pass, so that was it. We were just kind of left. I felt like they were very accommodating, and they, every time we went to go up to a queue, they would ask him, are you comfortable transferring into the ride vehicle? Are you comfortable with the amount of steps that it would be? And they would say it's 6 steps, or, you have to go up 2 stairs or something like that. And they would be, very kind of clear on what he needed to do. And then depending on the day, some days he felt that he could do that, some days he felt that he couldn't do that, and then they would adapt it with whatever needed. So they might say that he could then have the wheelchair right up to the ride and then transfer on, or he might be able to just kind of walk a few steps. So they were, the cast members made it very easy and feel very comfortable as well.
Back with Bethany in just a moment. Let me give you some news updates from Walt Disney World. The first one is the exciting one because we can now book lightning lanes from the UK. I know. On the last podcast, we did the workaround trick about changing location and using VPNs and stuff. Don't worry about that anymore. If you want to book your lightning lanes from the UK, if you're staying on Disney property, you can do this 7 days before your trip. Then all you need to do is go to your My Disney Experience app and take it from there. There's no ways around it. It's just open to all now. So finally, they fixed that and we can book lightning lanes as normal from the UK. Other news from Walt Disney World. Well, there's been some price increases and some price decreases. Decreases first. Last time I told you about the new cake bake shop at the boardwalk. It's taken them ages to build this. Pre-opening, they put their menus and their prices outside and people were going crazy because it was like $28 for a slice of cake. Well, for opening, they've obviously taken the hint and some of those prices have come down by quite a few dollars. They've taken note. Meanwhile, some other prices for food at Walt Disney World are going up. You're going to pay an extra $1 for your Mickey cinnamon roll, and there's like 25 cents and a few dollars here on the other snack items, and some of the character meals prices are going to go up as well. And finally, from Disney World, we've had confirmation of next year's EPCOT International Festival of the Arts, which is one of my favourite festivals, at EPCOT. It is back from the 17th of January. It's a short one. It goes on till February the 24th. There'll be more art-inspired food booths, lots of nice things to buy, and you got the Disney on Broadway concert series as well. That's the latest from Disney World. But over the other side of the road, up at Universal, tickets are on sale now for Epic Universe, the brand new theme park in Orlando that opens next year. If you want to be there, hotels, packages, and day tickets all now on sale. Any more news between now and the next podcast? I'll be the first to let you know on the socials at Podmagical. Same place to go if you'd like to be a podcast guest. Let's get back to this week's guest. Here's Bethany. Now going back to Disney World since the pandemic, What has changed? Have you noticed anything changed? Or are you going to have the Magical Express anymore and free fast passes have gone? What else did you notice that was different?
So I really miss the Magical Express not being a thing because it's almost like the first ride. Get there. I missed that. We were there when fast passes were a thing, so you could I think it was 60 days in advance, maybe if you were a resort guest.
I think you could book them.
And so we could book. We booked everything for the 2 weeks we were there. Obviously that's not a thing now. However, my husband did say that it was kind of nice in a way to decide kind of more closer to the day or on the day what you wanted to do, because he said he would have felt sometimes if I booked it in advance that we had to do that, and then there would be a bit of kind of pressure that, we have to be at this place for this time. So it kind of allowed you to maybe live in the moment a bit more. But we did use lightning lanes for some days. We didn't use it for every day because it would get very expensive. But we mostly used the single passes rather than the multi-passes. More so for things like Tron
and things,
and Flight of Passage and things like that. Other things that have changed. Obviously, there's new attractions. So Tron was new for us. Remy's was new as well. We hadn't done Remy's.
Oh, right.
Tiana's Bayou had just opened, so we did that. We also didn't do any of Galaxy's Edge when we went. I don't even know when that opened actually, but Galaxy's Edge we hadn't been to before, so that was a whole kind of new land for us basically to visit. So there was lots that was new, but then lots that it still felt the same, and it still felt the same kind of the bubble that you're in and everything.
So what was previously your favourite attraction, and has it now changed?
I have to kind of think of it in terms of every park, because I'm so indecisive as to what my favorite thing is. I'd say for Magic Kingdom that hasn't changed. I really love Pirates. I don't know what it is about Pirates, but I just the smell of the water. It's just a classic. So I don't think that's changed. Although Tiana's probably is very, very close to my favorite. I did like Splash Mountain, but I know it's controversial because a lot of people really didn't want to see Splash Mountain go, but I loved the new kind of theming on Splash Mountain. We really loved the storyline to it. I loved the animatronics on it. And also before when we rode it, I remember seeing signs that said when it was Splash Mountain, you will get wet, you may get soaked. This time I didn't see any signs, and we got absolutely soaked on Tiana's. Absolutely drenched. And in Florida weather in August, it still took my clothes about 3 hours to dry. I was just soaked through, and that was sitting at the front. I don't know if it's different at other parts of the ride, but when we went through the kind of disability line queue, they said, "Oh, where do you want to ride from?" So we just said, "Oh, the front, please." And then maybe they were laughing at us like because we're absolutely soaked. Yeah. So yeah, Magic Kingdom, probably still Pirates, but close is Tiana's. Epcot, again, I know it's a bit of an odd choice, but Spaceship Earth I just love.
Again, you love the classics.
Yeah, I do. And also Living with the Land as well. Again, I just love, but I think Spaceship Earth just has to be my favourite. And I can remember that as a kid as well. So I went when I was 5 years old, and I just remember I used to call it the golf ball. And I used to say, "Oh, I love the ride inside the giant golf ball." So yeah, I love that. And then Animal Kingdom, Flight of Passage, definitely. That we didn't actually get to ride that ride at all in 2018, and so to go on that, we bought a single pass, and then we bought another single pass another day because that was just brilliant. And interestingly, I went on one of the seats and got loads of water that was spraying in my face, and I could really smell it. And my husband said he didn't get any water at all. And the second ride we did it, I was in that same seat again, and he was going to be in that same seat. So we swapped because I knew that one was maybe broken. so then he managed to then get the better experience.
The full experience.
But yeah, my husband would say that that's his favourite ride in the whole of Disney World. But he really liked that. And then Hollywood Studios, probably, I would say Toy Story Midway Mania over Slinky Dog. Again, my husband would disagree with me. He would say Slinky is his favourite. But I just think Midway Mania is really fun.
Not any of the Star Wars attractions? You wouldn't put them over the Toy Story attractions?
I don't know. I think I do really like Rise of the Resistance.
Yeah. Feel there's a butch coming on here.
Yeah, I just love I think the theming for Galaxy's Edge is absolutely fantastic. And okay, I'm going to say something a bit controversial again. I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, but I can appreciate Galaxy's Edge for how incredibly well it's been done. Yeah. The theming is just completely out of this world, literally. And yeah, just from under your feet you can see all the droid prints in the concrete, and then right up to your to the skyline you can see the kind of mountains and things. Like it is just amazing. And I love that the characters are just walking around and they're just kind of in role the whole time. I love that. And I think even for somebody that's not a huge fan, I could really appreciate how amazing it was. And I could still appreciate how great Rise of the Resistance is as well as just an attraction. But yeah, I think I'd have to say Toy Story just because I love the theming of that as well. I love that you feel like you've been shrunk down and you're the size of a toy walking around, and you can see all like the kind of toys, the blocks and things that make up the buildings. And yeah, I love that. And I love when you go into Midway Mania that you're walking into Andy's bedroom. That's really cool.
Did you go to the Rodeo Roundup Barbecue Rodeo Rowdy restaurant?
I would love to. I didn't. No, we didn't go there, but I would love to. Because yeah, I've heard that they kind of shout Andy's coming, and then you have to freeze. And I think I would love that. And I think it's there as well that they have. I'm a vegetarian, and I've heard that they have Impossible ribs, and they're really good.
Good veggie
So
options there. There's a lot
yeah.
of food on the offer. And also, good for veggie is Sebastian's Bistro over at Caribbean Beach.
Oh, okay.
Another good veggie option. Where are your favourite places to eat?
On our honeymoon trip, I loved the rotating restaurant in the Land Pavilion. Garden Grill, that's the one.
Yeah, I love that.
I loved Garden Grill.
Breakfast
because I
or
liked the
dinner?
characters. We went for lunch.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So loved Garden Grill because of the characters, and the food was really good as well. This trip we went to Coral Reef in Epcot, and really randomly, my husband had chicken there, and he said it's the best chicken he's ever eaten in his whole life.
In a fish
And
restaurant?
I was like, that in a fish, yeah. How random is that? And normally he doesn't tend to pick something off the menu that's not like the specialty or whatever.
Yeah.
But he said it was like the best chicken he's ever had.
Oh well.
I had some sort of, because I'm pescatarian, I do eat seafood, but I had some sort of seafood thing, and it was lovely, but I just felt a little bit mean, like looking at
as they were swimming around.
Yeah, but I just thought it was a really relaxing environment. Just the lighting in there, and it's just really calm. And there were people diving in there, and then a ray swam past, and it had all the fish kind of like on top of it, like real life Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
And it was just so cool to just see that. So yeah, really loved it there.
Only once been in there, and they sat us right at the back, so I didn't properly feel like I was
that's a shame.
part of it.
Yeah, that is a shame. We were in the middle, so we weren't right next to the tank, but we could still sort of see it. And then I do love a buffet. My husband's not so sure on a buffet. We did Tusker House this trip, which I really liked. There were some sort of different flavors of things that I liked there, but I think my favorite buffet was Crystal Palace in Magic Kingdom, and I love Winnie the Pooh and all the characters.
I was going to say, is it for the food or is it for the characters?
For me, it's the characters. And yeah, but my husband would say it's the food that you go for. So
everyone's happy then. Everyone's happy. You're happy with the characters, you're happy with the food.
Yeah.
I am going to give you your perfect Disney World day, because last time you were on the podcast, we didn't ask you this question. So you only have 24 hours at Disney. Well, you don't only have 24 hours. You're there for as long as you want. But if you were to have one perfect day where you just did like a few of your favourite things, where would you stay? What would you do? Where would you eat? Where would you go? What would you do?
Okay, so money's no option, right?
Yeah. I'm paying.
Yeah, so we'll wake up at a deluxe resort in that case. Probably Wilderness Lodge. I've always wanted to kind of go there, or Polynesian, something kind of that sort of theme. And then we'd probably go straight to Magic Kingdom, because I always have to start the trip in Magic Kingdom, and then probably breakfast at Crystal Palace with the characters. And then I would watch the kind of little opening presentation that they do at the castle with the characters and the fireworks. That just makes me like tear up every time I see it. So I'd watch that. Then I would go and ride everything, because there would be no queues. I would just get on everything. Probably wait a while for my breakfast to go down before I did Tron, and then maybe do that towards the end. Then we would watch the parade, and I'd watch the parade by the castle, just so you've got like ultimate views there.
Ideal spot.
Yeah. And then after watching the parade, I'd go and meet all of the characters, and I'd go and meet all of the princesses, even though I am an adult, but I still love to do that.
Doesn't matter.
So yeah, I'd go and meet all of the princesses, and I think I would really relive my childhood, and I'd get their autographs as well, in a little book, because I remember doing that as a kid and I loved it. Then after that, we'd then get the bus to Epcot, and we would have lunch at Space 220, because I did actually have that booked for this trip, and my husband wasn't feeling well, so we had to cancel it.
Oh no.
So it's something I really do want to do. So I would go and have lunch there, and then after that we would walk around the world showcase, just take in every pavilion. And I think in an ideal world, we would be there during Food and Wine Festival. So even though we just had lunch, we would then just sample food and drink around the world as well. Yeah, and then probably back to the resort for a swim and just a bit of a chill out. And then we would have dinner at the resort somewhere and then head to Hollywood Studios to watch Fantasmic because that's my favourite show.
A lot of people say that. Fantasmic is like edging out the fireworks these days.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about it. It just, just seeing Mickey there, like waving his hands around in the water, and I just love it.
Well, it sounds like an ideal day out. And do you have another trip planned after this one? Because obviously this is the first time it was very different for you. Are you thinking about going again? And if you did, would you do it differently? So
we are thinking about possibly next year, because it's our 30th birthdays.
Right.
So it would be a really good celebration of our birthdays. It is very close to when we've just been. So we're looking at potentially saving a bit of money and maybe doing a bit more of a budget trip. I do love to stay on site though, and especially because we don't hire a car, and we need to use the Disney transport and things.
Yeah.
So probably looking at a value resort. I haven't stayed at a value resort before, so I'm currently looking into them and watching loads of vlogs of people that are staying at them and things. And I think I would love it because I do love the theming and I think it would still just feel like you're in the bubble.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably still. I'm a teacher as well, so I have to do
trapped within school holidays.
Yeah, and so I think it's not just Disney; it's every kind of holiday company. But they do rack the prices up in the summer holidays, and so I have to kind of be a bit cleverer about how to save money.
Yeah.
When I know that I want 2 weeks in the school holiday.
Maybe like the end of August when the American schools go back. I don't know whether our hotel prices would come cheaper. Have you looked at Swan and Dolphin over by Epcot?
That's a interestingly, I looked at Swan and Dolphin the other day, and it was the most expensive option for some strange reason. We did the last 2 weeks in August this time, and I love how quiet it is. It doesn't really feel crowded at all. And obviously you do have the August weather. But I was listening to your previous guests actually, and I think they were there the same time we were there. And we had the 1 week, our first week was perfect weather. It was not really too hot, didn't rain, because there was a hurricane off the coast of Florida, which I think sucked all the pressure. So one of the local people were telling us that the pressure had kind of gone because of that. And then the second week was just your classic August in Florida.
Wet.
Storms every day and really hot. So I'd love to go next year, but we might just have to think a little bit about how to save a bit of money.
Yeah, totally. Save up and make a big trip next time. It's been great to have you back on the podcast, Bethany.
Thank you so much for having me again.
And I'll say for a second time, have a magical day.
Thank you.
We have only got a few more episodes of the podcast left before we break up for Christmas and New Year. We'll take a bit of a New Year break. So if you'd like to be a podcast guest, get in touch at Pod Magical is where we are. Just give me a message. We'll arrange a time to get you on. If you're going to be going to Walt Disney World very soon, then prepare for Christmas. I know we have literally just finished with Halloween as this podcast goes out on the 1st of November. So last night was Halloween. I guess if you're waking up now listening to this, there is a team at Walt Disney World. Maybe they are still doing it. Maybe they've just finished taking down all the pumpkins and putting up the tree and the decorations. Magic Kingdom is done literally overnight. As soon as the last Halloween party is done, Halloween is down, Christmas is in for the very first very merry Christmas party of the year, which is the 8th of November. So that's next weekend is the first very merry. Then Jollywood Nights over at Hollywood Studios. That starts the day after on the 9th of November, right up to Christmas. They are extra ticketed events. There's quite a few of the Christmas parties at Magic Kingdom have already sold out. Meanwhile, the Food and Wine Festival continues at Epcot. That is until the 23rd of November. You can catch Boys to Men at Epcot this week. That always gets really busy. And here is a top tip for this episode. Now, I got this top tip from AJ from Disney Food Blog, who's got a book coming out, by the way. I'll put that on the top of my Christmas list. Now, I didn't know that these existed, but if you like to drink around the world at Epcot, or you've had a few drinks, well, drop into the UK pavilion of all places, because in the Twinings tea shop there, they sell something called the hangover drop. It's a little boiled sweet that apparently you can suck on, and it takes away the rough effects of the morning after the night before. I didn't know you could get these, and out of all places in the World Showcase Pavilion, it has to be the UK, doesn't it? Let me know if you tried them. Let me know if they work. Back with a new podcast in just a couple of weeks. Hit that subscribe button so it arrives on your platform, however you listen. Please give us 5 stars as well, if you could. That'd be brilliant. Until next time, please stand clear of the doors.